Senator Bennet.
Chairman, I'm glad. Thank you for letting me defer for a moment. I'm glad it was to hear Senator Young's questions about his mom, because I think those are exactly the questions that everybody in Colorado has. So thank you, Mr. Bisignano. Thank you for being here and your willingness to serve. I know how you understand, I hope, and this is your testimony, how important it is that Americans receive their Social Security benefits on time, and that if a problem arises, that they're able to resolve it quickly and easily, which they have not been able to do for a long time. And you've emphasized the need to, quote, the need to meet beneficiaries in the 3 places they want to be, including on the phone, online, and in person. But last week, the Social Security Administration said that Americans wouldn't be able to access a number of service options over the phone. Instead, they'll need to either use an online verification process or call to make an in-person appointment. The agency itself estimates that this will add 75,000 to 85,000 in-person visitors a week to field offices. As my colleagues have already said, wait times for appointments can already take a month, and that in-person appointment is only going to get harder to make if the agency cuts 7,000 employees and ends up with the lowest headcount in decades. That, I'm worried that that's not going to meet the American people where they are. I realize you haven't been over there making these decisions. I know you spent a lot of time in the private sector, and I know that there is no well-functioning corporation that would have the kind of weights that we're talking about here. And so I think when it comes to Social Security, really the American people are the ultimate shareholders, not the members of the Senate and not you. It's the American people and Senator Young's mom that matter. I want to ask you whether you'll commit to hearing from my constituents in Colorado and people across the country before making cuts to staff or before restricting access to customer service. I guess the point I'm making is don't just make assumptions about it, but let's engage your customers, our constituents, the true shareholders, in a discussion about how best to serve them. What are your thoughts about that?
First of all, thank you, Senator Bennet, and thanks for taking the time in your office with me previously. And I thought you were highly insightful, and I'm appreciative.
I hope my mom's watching. Thank you.
I thought as I've watched what I consider a fair amount of press releases and announcements that have gone out, because that's just kind of how I learn what's going on. I work on the daily. I get up in the morning and look at Social Security news. And I thought to myself that, and I was fortunate enough during the last week to meet with Senator Wyden's staff and Senator Crapo's staff, and then have a session with all the Senate Finance Committee staffs, that we should have some form of group that before we make a statement of what we're doing, that we go have a conversation about it, much like I do all the time on anything you do. You're going to affect your constituents. You should get some buy-in in the process. Now, we're never going to get 100% of agreement on many things, but people also understanding the reason why. This is why we're doing that. Look at, I serve tens of thousands of bank branches. They're in communities all over. They're in rural communities. And what we have to do with our technology and innovation there is different than what we may have to do in large cities. And you have to take in the full population and think it through. It doesn't mean you're not going to do it, but I commit to us thinking through a better way for change and understanding what the constituents have to go through.
I appreciate that. I'll submit my other question for the record, Mr. Chairman, but I'll say you're new to government, and which is not necessarily a bad thing. What I'll say is that one way or another, we're going to hear from our constituents. If offices are closed and if they can't be served, I think you'd be a lot better listening on the front end than taking the incoming on the back end from Republicans and Democrats up here who have concerned constituents when it comes to Social Security. Thank you for your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.